Oh, yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are across the globe, welcome to this week in Black America. I am your host for the day, Curtis Cheatham here. My brother Deshaun is out and about, enjoying some well-deserved time with the family, but he left the keys to the car with me. I'm going to try and take good care of it today, and hopefully you'll join us as we spend some time reviewing this week in Black America. A lot of craziness going on, of course, with the new administration, which we've been going over for the last several weeks. But lots of things happening. Some we need to be concerned with. Some maybe is distraction, and you don't want to get too caught up in that. But certainly there's some things that we need to be aware of. And again, glad to be here today, trying to keep us on the rails. Lots going on. It's not a great week to be shadow President Elon Musk. He's had some issues, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Elon Musk. And then, of course, the 47th president maybe having to swoop in a little bit, kind of help his brother out and help him out with selling his electric vehicle there. Also, we had some talks on the Russian-Ukraine front, some thoughts about that, and the Russian government appearing to conditionally accept what's going on there with the U.S.-led agreement to sort of get a ceasefire there over in the Russia-Ukraine war going on. If you're paying attention to the stock market, it's been a wild ride. And certainly that's problematic for a lot of people, but we've lost a lot of the gains that those big gains that the people were seeing in the stock market at the end of last year, the beginning or very beginning of this year. Most of that has been wiped away by this crazy tariff stuff that we're seeing DJT subject us to. So we're going to have to deal with that. And then, of course, we've got other things. There's a government shutdown looming. If you're not aware of that, midnight tonight, there is the potential of a government shutdown, but the Congress is working to try and get some sort of continuing resolution going on. I want to go a little bit more into that because after 6 months, which is what this continuing resolution would do, it would provide basically 6 months of an open checkbook for Donald Trump to do whatever he wants to do. And, that could be problematic on some levels as well. What we're seeing here as far as the tariff war, we're going to go into the latest of that. If you like champagne or European liquor, you may want to go to the good old U.S. bourbon or something like that, because potentially tariffs are going to be added to the European liquor as we continue this tariff war going back and forth. And a couple things that have been happening. I don't know if you've been aware. The Guantanamo Bay, remember a couple weeks ago, actually probably about 3 weeks ago or so, on this show, we were talking about the fact that Guantanamo Bay had been opened up to house these migrants. But now in yet another reversal, we are seeing that this administration is in fact having to close Guantanamo. They close it down, from what I understand, shipped all those remaining people that were over in Guantanamo, shipped them back to the U.S. And so another reversal. And I see my brother Deshaun is actually watching today. All right, brother. Thank you for checking in. I'm going to try not to drive the car too fast. I'm not going to go around too many curves today. I'm going to try and just keep us under the speed limit and just do the job that we're supposed to be doing today. I want to say RIP to a former NBA star that passed away this week in Black America, Junior Bridgman. I don't know, the name may sound familiar, but I don't want to talk about him about his basketball career, although, he had a very a very solid NBA career, but what he did afterward is what's important, and what we should be as Black America focused on. And one other thing I want to get into a little bit is the fact that this federal judge, in fact, just yesterday, said that, the big hubbub that was a couple weeks ago, where the Trump administration had basically fired all probationary employees through several different departments, the VA, Department of Defense, Education, etc. So a federal judge, in fact, two federal judges in the last couple of days have ruled that that is illegal and that they must rehire all of those people. What is that going to look like? We've heard some stories, so definitely want to get into that. Lots to talk about. I am probably not going to keep you as long as Brother Deshaun and I sometimes go, mainly because I don't have anybody to go back and forth with, but we're going to do the best to kind of run down some of these things today. Now, I mentioned at the top in the rundown here that it's probably not a great week to be shadow President Elon Musk. And you got to wonder, and I know Deshaun and I talked about this last week, and his point of view was, I believe, don't want to misstate it, basically is that Musk is willing to take some sort of hit in the short term now to have, I guess, basically more influence with the way the administration is crafting things in the future. But imagine being a business person and the fact that you're getting involved in politics is causing you all types of problems in your businesses. So we see with his Starlink business, first of all, he had another explosion last week, which is the whole reason why he got involved with the FAA and fired the FAA head, or pushed the FAA head out just prior to the 47th president being re-inaugurated. So he had some beef with the FAA, which is why we've seen the dismantling of the FAA now, is what the belief is relative to Starlink. He's leaving space junk all over the cosmos here. When his SpaceX rockets, he's had a couple of them that have exploded in the air. I think the last one exploded within like 10 seconds, which was problematic. But now you've got all this space debris spread out over the Caribbean. So if you're heading to the Caribbean and right now, and I know some people are, look up, and not just for the sunshine, because there may be some space stuff flying out of the air because of these explosions of these rockets, and that's problematic. The Caribbean countries are complaining, saying that basically you're polluting our pristine beaches and things of that nature. So we've got the Starlink thing, plus he's losing contracts over the whole tariff thing, and we know that one of the Mexican leaders withdrew, I think it was over $20 billion, if I'm not mistaken, of contracts for Starlink. Now, of course, Musk is maneuvering. He's not, don't cry for me, Argentina. He's doing all right. But the fact of the matter is that he is losing some business. His Tesla stock is tanking, so much so to the point where he had to call in his big brother, DJT, this week. And we're seeing things that we've never seen before. At least I've never seen before. And where we have a sitting president basically running a used car lot, or a new car lot, I guess it was, from the lawn of the White House. And really just trying to pump up Elon's lagging Tesla sales. Lots of people trading them in, trying to get out of those Teslas just because they don't agree with the way he's handling things and his involvement in politics. So Tesla is taking a big hit, not just here in the U.S., globally. In some of their biggest markets, Germany and France, they are seeing tremendous hits on the Tesla brand. So he's losing millions of dollars in that respect as well. Add to that, of course, the plunging stock market, So, the stock market in general is taking a hit. They're calling it a correction. If you're not aware, this may be a little different than previous times where we're calling it a correction, if you will, where they're just kind of losing some of the gains that they had and just kind of readjusting the market, if you will. This may be a little different. We'll see and wait and see. But clearly we know that the discord that 47 is sowing by haphazardly kind of dismantling things, firing people, starting these fights with our trading partners, our best trading partners, the tariff wars, all of these things are playing a part. And then we're seeing that play a pivotal role in what's going on in the stock market and the fact that the stocks are closing. Now, those who are more aggressive, I guess, in the market see this as an opportunity. The cost of some of these stocks have dropped. And generally speaking, that's a great time if you're an investor to get into the market while things are low, and then you can ride the wave as they go back up. I'm not here to give you stock advice. That's not my ministry. But certainly there are people that are approaching that, and the wealthy are approaching this time, as they always do, as an opportunity to get in and get some good value in the markets. Now, keeping it on Elon Musk, just one more moment. Now, I'm not on his platform any longer, the former Twitter. I've just kind of backed off, and I'm using other social media platforms at this point, including some Black-owned ones like Spill, and what we're seeing is X apparently had some issues this week. One of my partners here with the HBA team was telling me that he had some problems this week where they were hacks going on with the X platform. And again, this is all, I believe, some sort of backlash from what he's doing with the government and the way he's dismantling all these government agencies and things like that. So at some point, Musk has to choose, I think, if the juice is worth the squeeze. He's getting involved in all this, and you have to wonder why someone would subject themselves to this sort of losses, this sort of scrutiny from the various markets. Why would you do that unless you had something bigger as an end game? And that's what we as Americans need to consider. What's the end game? And the fact of the matter is that Musk has already had access to so much of our information. He's gotten information from the Treasury Department, the Social Security, OPM, as far as getting the records of federal employees and things of that nature. Data is the new valuable resource. And we have given the richest person in the world and the largest donor to our president, given him free for all access to data that no one else has access to. We can only wonder what someone in that position would do with this sort of information. And we as Americans should be very concerned about this. Now, Black America, let's sit back, have our tea, coffee for me, and just sit back, because I don't want to see us in those streets. I truly believe that some of this stuff is designed to elicit a response by Black America, to get us out in the streets like we were during the George Floyd time, right? And once you get Black folks in the streets, then, hey, all bets are off. I can release the hounds. I can release the military. We can do all types of things in that regard. So Black folks, we can't lead this charge, I don't believe, at this point. Now, we can continue to build and do what we need to do to make sure that we have the things that we need. But I personally don't believe that one of the things we should do right now is be out in those streets protesting. Listen, let's be honest. We had our time, and America has made its choice, right? We talked about the fact that how united the Black community was in voting in this last election cycle, and America made its choice. So now America's going to have to dig themselves out, and by America, I mean the larger community, the larger white community that has kind of enjoyed the favor of this country for a while. But now they're going to have to step up and really kind of push to hold together this democracy, because it really does appear as if forces are trying to dismantle the systems, progress that's been made, all these types of things that are being dismantled right before our eyes. So keep an eye on that for sure. One thing that we should be aware of at this point, as far as news is concerned, is in fact tonight would be the deadline for continuing resolution to keep the nation funded as far as our spending is concerned. Now, we go through this from time to time, and there's always this threat looming of a government shutdown. I think this time is a little different because obviously the Republicans have the majority in both seats of Congress, both parts of Congress. And even though, albeit it's a short, it's a very thin window as far as who's in control, and they don't have a lot of margin for error there. But the fact of the matter is that the Congress has come up with a continuing resolution basically to fund the government for the next 6 months. The problem is think about this. Giving this administration 6 months, we've seen what they've done in 6 weeks or so, right? They've dismantled all types of things, caused all types of conflict, all types of chaos, in just about a little over a month or so. Imagine another 6 months allowing this president to have a free-for-all with, of course, basically no restraints, because this continuing resolution isn't continuing the previously approved spending. It's just kind of really opening the checkbook and allowing this president to spend wherever he wants to spend, to do whatever he wants to do. And when you just have unchecked power, that's problematic. And that's what we're seeing here, is that he's trying to exercise unchecked power. And that's a problem. So we don't want to get too bogged down in this sort of thing, but it is something that we need to be keeping our eyes on, because my point of view on this one is this. Frankly, the government is already being shut down. We're seeing shutdowns in the VA. We're seeing the Department of Education being dismantled. Of course, USAID. We're having all these Social Security Administration being cut. All of these things are happening right in front of our eyes. So in my mind, I think the Democrats really have to consider strong and hard whether it is a good move to kind of go along to get along in this case and just let the government be funded for another 6 months. Personally, I would think that now is the time to go ahead and let the government shut down. Sure, you're going to take some blame for it, but what do you got to lose at this point? This man, DJT, is already going beyond what anybody would have thought. Even his most ardent supporters, you may recall during the election cycle, if you talk to a supporter of a MAGA person, they were always, sometimes they'd say stuff like, oh, he's really not going to do that. He's just talking. And now what the MAGAs are starting to realize is, no, he wasn't just talking. He is actually doing what he said he was going to do. And in fact, doing it in such a way that lacks any kind of compassion, regardless of who you voted for. You see on social media a lot nowadays, people who are upset that they voted for Trump and now they are being hit with some sort of backlash, whether it be losing a job, whether it be those Latinos who voted for Trump who are now finding themselves having to fight deportation and things of that nature. So there's all types of stuff going on that we just need to we just need to watch. I'm going to keep repeating that, watching, because there's a lot happening, and if you're not paying attention, you can get distracted and forget what else is going on. Now, one of our loyal listeners here said something when we're talking about the stock market. It's not a correction. We got to wait until it becomes a bear market again. Absolutely. We could be in a free fall. We may be in a free fall right now. Who knows? And that was kind of what I was alluding to at the beginning, is that we may be in a time that we've never seen before. There are people like Brother Deshaun gave us an example in a previous talk that we were having, where one of his friends was like, yeah, America, America always comes back. And traditionally, that has been the case. But we have to think about this in a little different context now. We're in different times. And of course, that we deal and talk a lot of things about prophecy and spiritual things going on. This may be a little bit of a different time. And we have to keep that in mind, because you never know. We're always expecting the rebound to happen. But as we have been talking about, if America is indeed being called to judgment in all these things, we don't know how this is going to play out. We don't know whether the stock market or America's riches is one of the things that will be a plague, if you will, that might fall upon this nation. So from that perspective, and I usually leave that stuff to my brother Deshaun, and he'll go off on it it's a tangent. We laugh about that from time to time, where he kind of can get off on a tangent. And I love that about the brother, because he is passionate about what his reading of the scriptures is and that sort of thing. So no problem there, but keep your eyes open, especially about this continuing resolution. I'd love to hear from folks what they would be thinking about that. One thing that we're seeing, as I switch gears a little bit here, is, and this is reminiscent of the first Trump administration as well, where you kind of hear him say one thing one day, and then the next day it has to be reversed, or it is reversed. And we're seeing that more and more this time. Now, again, about just really a week or so after 47 got reinaugurated here, he and the Doge team, they basically told people who were probationary employees, they fired all of them, basically. Sent the big email, said that they were no longer employed, and get them stepping, as Martin would say. So that's what they did. Now, of course, there was legal action taken, because these are unionized employees in some cases. They're new. Their performance reviews have been great in a lot of instances, and yet they're being let go for performance issues. So 2 federal judges, one in California and I believe one in Maryland, have basically now said that he's got to, this administration has to reinstate or rehire all of those people that they let go. Can you imagine the mess this is going to be? Because first of all, this administration has shown no ability to do these things in a organized or efficient manner. It's funny that we have an entire organization called the Department of Government Efficiency, and they are anything but that. You know, we're seeing people get fired, and then you're gonna have to rehire them. But wait a second, we don't have information to contact these people in some cases. So the ineptness of the way this administration is carrying out these things is problematic. It's embarrassing. As an American citizen, it's embarrassing for me to see. And I've lived through Nixon, who was an embarrassment in his own way. Cyber Lady, how you doing? Good to see you back in the house. New Jersey in the house. Glad to have all of our listeners who check in with us weekly. We love the loyalty. We love the fact that you keep checking in and engaging with us, and hopefully you continue to do that with us. So Cyber Lady, thank you for checking in again today. Anyway, so again, what we're seeing is an example of a lot of bluster with 47 getting out there, making these bold statements, bold actions. But then, of course, we have the judges who are really standing in the gap right now and making these decisions that uphold our democracy in a lot of cases and the rule of law that we have established. So we've got these judges saying, yo, you can't do this, and you have to rehire these people. Now, of course, the sticking point, and we've talked about this before in the past, is what happens if Trump decides not to do what the courts have said. And then, of course, we have this thing called the constitutional crisis, where, you know, it becomes problematic to see how that plays out. We're not quite there yet. Maybe we're on the line a little bit, but that's certainly something to, again, be aware of, because of the way that 47 has handled himself and shown himself to not be beholden to any laws, really. Hello, 34-time convicted felon, but I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, keep that in mind. He's got to rehire all these people. Let's see how that goes. It's a problem. It shows that you ever heard the term measure twice and cut once? I think that's a carpentry saying. and really what it's saying is you take the time and invest the time up front to make sure that you're measuring properly. That means that you're less likely to make a mistake when you actually go to cut the wood, right? So if you've ever done any kind of home repairs and things, it makes a lot more sense to make sure that you're doing it properly the first time, maybe doing it a little bit more deliberately and ensuring that you're making the proper cut, as opposed to just cutting all willy-nilly and then realizing that you got to try and put that board back together again, which is very difficult to do. Anyway, did you hear, if you weren't paying attention this week, a heavy day, and I know that 47 has made these statements before in the past. He's talked about annexing Canada, making them the 51st state. He's talked about wanting to take over the Panama Canal. He's also talked about Greenland in the past. Folks, he hasn't forgotten about these things. Just yesterday, he put out a military plan, or he requested a plan from the military on how to invade Panama Canal and take it over by force. This is happening, like right now, in real time. He is asking the military for plans on how they would take over the Panama Canal. You know, this agreement has been there for decades. That Panama has been kind of this independent area. And now you can bet there's some sort of business. There's follow the money. There's got to be some sort of reason why he's looking for this. And I've read some things in the past, but not as informed about them right now to maybe go into it here. But we're going to see. We're going to see. Cyberlater is asking, do you think he will really change the name, or is he just talking aloud? I think that that he's a blusterous person, and so you got to kind of take everything that he says a little bit with a grain of salt. But who knows? He's getting enough support of people. His supporters are so cult-like in their enthusiasm and their following of this person. It's like anything that he says, they're going to support. It's going to be interesting, circling back a little bit. He was talking about he's trying to help Elon Musk by hawking the Tesla, saying he was going to buy one. So, we've seen the MAGA crowd support all the stuff he's hawking, the Bible, the sneakers, the coin, the whatever else that 47 puts on the market, his followers react to. What I want to see is how many of them are going to go out and buy a Tesla. I don't want to cast any aspersions. I don't want to paint with a broad brush here. But I think a lot of the Donald Trump supporters probably won't look good in a Tesla. It'll just be an odd pairing, I would think. And then where are they going to set up these electrical charging stations on the farm? I know I'm being a little cheeky there. Forgive me. I'm working on getting better with that sort of thing. But just think about in your mind, what the typical Trump supporter looks like. Now, imagine that same typical person driving a Tesla. There's an incongruency there, at least in my mind. It just seems a little incongruent. And frankly, I've had this similar thought pattern in my mind, because think of how many MAGA people can actually afford to go stay in a Donald Trump property. And I've actually had this conversation with the Trump supporter in real life, a MAGA person. I was like, bro, you can't even afford to go to one of Trump's properties. If you walk to the door, they probably stop you and ask you why you're here, because you seem out of place. Now, I don't know. Maybe I was being a little mean in that certain, so I'll ask for forgiveness on that. But the fact of the matter is that it's all a ploy. Y'all are not really his people. Y'all get that, right? He doesn't care about those MAGA supporters any more than he cares about anybody else. It's what he can get from them. And obviously now he's gotten the presidency twice. Who knows how much money he's made, because of course we've never seen his taxes. But y'all don't care about that. I get it. It doesn't matter if this president does everything differently. If he shakes off years and years and decades of a precedent of established tradition, if you will, and he's going against all of that. And the people that follow him just don't care. I get it. Maybe it'll start hitting home when a 200% tariff on your liquor starts going into effect, right? Maybe they're making their own. I don't know. Another broad brush stereotype. Forgive me. I'm working on it. But yeah, Trump just proposed a 200% tariff on EU liquor. And this was in response to the European Union saying that they were going to place, I think it was 50% tariffs on things in response to his tariffs of 25% on Canada and Mexico. Where does this end? I mean, common sense should tell us that this is a no-win situation, because we have things that we get from other countries, and we have things that we are exporting to other countries. So we're not we're going to pay more to send our stuff out and pay more to get new stuff in. And aluminum is something that we get from Canada, right? I've heard the story, 60% of our aluminum comes from Canada. You know that those beer cans are made out of aluminum, right? The pieces on those cars, those automobiles are made with aluminum in some cases. These are things that you're going to find out that we are paying, that we paid for, that we're going to end up paying a lot more for because of these tariffs, and it's going to end up hitting us in the pocket. Is no one else concerned that this president is kind of basically saying, yeah, times are going to be hard for a while, and just, it's okay, deal with it. Deal with it? This is the same group of people that a few months ago were complaining and elected this man because of the price of eggs. Eggs have not gone down. I was in the store yesterday. I'm here to attest that eggs have not gone down since 47 has been inaugurated. Go check. Go to ShopRite, Wegmans, Aldi's, wherever you go. Go and see what the cost of eggs are today. And you know that if I was able to technically work this, I could pull up a clip of Donald Trump saying on day one, the price of eggs were going to be going down. Yeah. Not exactly a truthful statement. You know, this presidency and this administration makes a lot out of making these big, bold proclamations, these big, bold actions designed to make us feel as if he has everything under control, as if things are moving in the direction and the trajectory he set down. But for example, we heard a big deal, and we talked about it again on This Week in Black America a few weeks ago, the big deal that he made where they were opening Guantanamo Bay again for all these migrants. Up to 30,000 people were going to be housed at Guantanamo Bay. So this was a big deal, right? And we started shipping people to Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, basically for a misdemeanor, because being in this country illegally past your visa is not a criminal thing. It's a misdemeanor. It's a civil type of thing, unless of course you're deported and then you come back. That's different. But most of the people that we're dealing with are people that overstayed their visas in some ways, and they're being treated as if they are actually criminals. I just want to point out that the only really, truly adjudicated criminal in this situation is the one serving as president, but I digress. Anyway, so Guantanamo Bay is being shut down, being closed down, and shot down is the wrong word. It's being closed down, and then all those people are being brought back to America. So what we're seeing is, and you see this in real life, right? You make these big, bold proclamations, or you make this big statement for everybody to see on the front page, right? This is the front page news. But then, then they try and bury it somewhere in the back later when they have to retract the statement, or when they have to produce news that's contrary to what the big, bold statement was saying. So what we have here is a sense of where we've got these bold statements by 47 going up, talking about what he's going to do, and then when we have the retraction, or when the opposite is happening, then we bury that somewhere in the back next to the ads or something like that. So that's what this administration is doing. We've got all these bold proclamations, these big things that we're going to be doing and saying, and all the big plans, and then either the courts are dismantling them, they're having to reverse them because the plan wasn't thought out well, or it's just inefficient, which is ironic because We're talking about the Department of Government Efficiency dismantling all these things. So what are we going to do? My man Meraki checking in. How you doing, my brother? Eggs are still too much. A dozen of eggs is like $12.99. You're paying over $1 for each egg. Brother, who knew that breakfast was going to involve life decisions? You know, you really got to think long and hard when you want to have a 3-egg omelet these days. You know, I'm not even lying to you. I'm just like, do I really want eggs today, or can I just survive off toast? Can I do toast and oatmeal today and just eliminate the eggs? And it's funny. It's not funny. It's sad. But the fact of the matter is that we have a person who was elected based on supposedly their acumen with dealing with the economy. And what we are seeing in reality is a completely different thing. They're doing it with no compassion. They're doing it without any competency. They are doing it in a way where they lack any kind of organization or anything along those lines. It's just done in some kind of haphazard way, which is problematic, I think. But anyway, thanks for checking in, brother. Meraki, hopefully you didn't have eggs this morning. We may be all going on a low cholesterol diet in the very near future, unfortunately. All types of other things going on. Lunar eclipse was supposed to be last night. I don't know if anybody was able to see that last night. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to what's going on in the skies and stuff like that. If there's an eclipse, and I know there was a big eclipse last year, everybody was a solar eclipse, obviously. And so last night early this morning, around 2:30, almost 3 in the morning, which is supposed to be the peak time where you could see this lunar eclipse, I went out on my deck and I went to take a look and see what was going on. I ain't seen nothing. There wasn't nothing out there. It was too cloudy in my area. I'm in the Philly area, and I think that it's actually a combination of some fires in the area and, of course, cloud cover. So I couldn't see the lunar eclipse. Oh, well. But I'm kind of a nerd about those things. Hey, you guys know, and this is kind of a tie-on to that, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA is what they're called. We've seen this week big cuts in NOAA, right? Now, why do we care about NOAA? And I'm not talking about the dude with the ark. Again, I'm talking about this organization that monitors and forecasts our weather. They keep an eye on when things are changing in nature and what they could foretell about what's going on and what it could foretell about what the weather patterns are going to be and all that stuff. We're getting cuts in those things. Now, is that prudent? I mean, just think about the fact that just this past year, we were seeing, floods in places where floods have never been happening before. Just in California, of course, the wildfires. It wasn't wildfire season. Strangely enough, there is a wildfire season. And that wasn't it. We're seeing things, all these things that are playing in with nature and have to do with nature, and yet we're dismantling the people that are responsible for that. Along with, of course, we're seeing the dismantling of all the consumer protections. Folks, they're backing up if you don't realize, they're backing up a truck to rob this place, this country. They're backing up a Brinks truck to rob this country. They're trying to dismantle all the protections that have been put in place over decades and decades so that these grifters these rich robber barons can swoop in and maybe privatize Social Security for their profit, or privatize the VA, or privatize the IRS, or any a number of these things where these wealthy individuals can swoop in, start a business, and profit from it. Times are strange indeed. Yeah, brother. You said that you thought the eclipse was tonight. I actually did too. I thought it was supposed to be tonight. But in watching the news over the last several days, supposedly it was the 14th, as in early this morning, was the date that the eclipse was supposed to be most visible. So that got me a little by surprise too. I was thinking it was going to be tonight, but when they said the 14th, it was actually early this morning. So we have to talk about that. I meant to mention that as something to do tonight, but didn't realize that it was actually last night. So sometimes you learn and you do better when you know better. I want to bring up a quick story. Rest in peace to Junior Bridgman, former NBA player. And I remember his name during the time. What he's probably most famous for, he was drafted by the Lakers, but ended up, I think it was 71, maybe, 1971. He was drafted by the Lakers and then traded to Milwaukee, in part for the trade that became the trade for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor at that time, I believe, who became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who until recently had been the largest or the most prolific scorer in the NBA until last year when LeBron James surpassed him. So Junior Bridgman passed away this week at the age of 71. And the thing that's remarkable about him is not the NBA career, but this is the part that more of our athletes should be focused on, is that Junior Bridgman, while he was in the NBA, I understand it, took a job with Wendy's so that he could understand the way their systems work. And after his NBA career, he went on to become a self-made billionaire with a B. Billionaire. Starting all types of businesses, whether it be restaurants and things of that nature, went on to have a prolific business career, far better known as a businessman than he ever was as a member of the NBA. And for Black America, I think it's important for us to know, and I know we do this in a lot of cases. You got people, the rappers and things like that, who may have gotten their money start from, let's say, questionable sources. And they take that money and invest it basically in studios or to fund somebody to start some sort of business or something like that, and reinvesting it in the community. We see even people like the people like Shaq and Magic Johnson, who go on to be prolific business people afterwards. That's the model I think that we should be pushing for these people who make this large sum of money for sometimes very short careers, certainly in the NFL. But we have people like the Beast, Marshawn Lynch. I love to hear stories like him because he was a guy that never spent any of his NFL money. He never spent any of he never spent a dime of his contracts while he was in the league. He lived off his endorsements. And that's a mindset that is important, because now that he's out of the league and he's still making money from these endorsements, I wonder if he's still just letting that money accumulate, or if he's putting it back into the community, which seems like it would be something along his lines. But listen, you got to make a plan. If you get a chance to get into some of these industries where you can get a high salary for a period of time, and you aren't planning for what the next iteration of your life is going to be, shame on you. Because, we've seen far, far, far too many cases where these professional athletes end up going broke in several years, or even people that win the lottery and end up going broke because they haven't planned. They haven't layered their plan enough to know what they should be doing, how they should invest, what they should use this money for to build business or reinvest in their communities and things like that. So certainly that's something that the people need to be focused on. If you happen to be fortunate enough to get somebody in the family, unfortunately, we as Black folks, when somebody makes an achievement, whether they get to the league or something along those lines, we are in a position, unfortunately, where we feel the guilt of having to go back and take care of family members and take care of our people, our boys, people that we grew up with. And unfortunately, a lot of times you see these people with these big entourages because, they're trying to take care of their people, which is laudable. I have no problem with that. But you have to be in a position, a la, say, LeBron James, where you're still generating enough to not only take care of yourself and take care of them, but put them in a position to succeed. And that's a great model. I'm not a LeBron James lover as far as his basketball career. I mean, he's an amazing athlete, but I am far more impressed by the way he's carried himself off of the court than the way that he's carried himself on the court. And that's just listen, I'm an older generation guy. When the NBA that I grew up with was a different thing than what we're seeing today. And I don't want to be the old man on the porch yelling about, in my day, they were doing that. All right. I am the old man, and I do feel that way. I just don't want to. I just don't want to be that way overtly today. See, I'm trying to change. I'm trying to improve and be a better version of myself. So continue to pray for me in that regard. Listen, all types of things have been happening, and we talk about them here. Of course, you can go back and refer to our content on Hello Black America. I encourage you to do that to have a better understanding of where our true north is and what we are seeing and why we are so observant of what's going on in the world around us, and particularly how that affects Black America. And Kate, that just brings me to another point. Y'all know that, of course, the big news a few weeks ago was that the 47th president had this plan for Gaza. He was going to move the Palestinians to some sort of new, beautiful piece of land where they can have their own land, where they can be resettled. And he talked about Jordan and Egypt, and they were like, nah, bro, he ain't coming over here. And lo and behold, pulled up a story even just today. Came up on my timeline from the AP that Trump is now pushing his way to the African continent, looking at Somalia and some of those, I think it was Ethiopia, Somalia, and one other country over on the continent. But even the press release was like, yeah, these are far from those, how do you put it? From those, he used some adjective to describe the land that he was going to bring these Palestinians to and how beautiful it was going to be. It was going to be gorgeous land. And even the commentary that was written in the story I read was like, yeah, that's not so much a beautiful land that he talked about, that Trump talked about bringing these Palestinians to. So, I mean, it was just like, it's a weird statement that now we're seeing him trying to encroach on the African continent yet again to sort of solve one of these problems keep an eye. This guy's moving in ways that we've never seen before. He's making actions. He's taking actions that frankly you would not expect the leader of such a country as America to do. He's taking actions that are completely contrary to what we've seen our presidents do before. And he's got the backing of not only all three forms of government here, three parts of the government, but he's also got a cult-like following. You see, I talked earlier about what was that piece where he was, which story was that? Boy, getting old is great, but losing your memory is not great. Anyway, my brother Deshaun, I need you to bring me some supplements to help with that memory loss, my brother. Anyway, we're seeing things happening that we've never seen before in waves that we've never seen before. I'm encouraging us to stay vigilant in regarding our peace, right? Because I think a lot of these things, as I alluded to earlier, are designed to get us in an uproar, get us worked up about what's going on, whether it be another perfect example. Y'all remember the Black Lives Matter Plaza that was put up in Washington, D.C., where they put the Black Lives Matter all on the road there. It was a big presentation. And what we were seeing in the last couple of days, in fact, was the federal government threatening the city of D.C. to withhold their funds, and the mayor basically acquiescing and saying, all right, you can change the name of that plaza to Liberty Plaza rather than Black Lives Matter Plaza. It's a ploy. It was a ploy because they still can withhold the funds. You just acquiesced basically for nothing. I would have personally liked to seen the mayor stand up and say, no, keep your money if you have to, but Black Lives Matter needs to be at the center of DC's culture and understanding about the way we treat people. And DC is one of those chocolate cities, of course, without representation, without statehood. Although we're talking about annexing Canada and making them the 51st state, when in fact we have the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, which have citizenship but don't have representation. So maybe we should work on making DC and Puerto Rico the 51st and 52nd state before we worry about annexing Canada. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Perhaps it's the fact that those people in DC and in Puerto Rico perhaps have a little too much melanin in their skin. And perhaps the people of Canada would make a better annexation to America. Listen, and if you think I'm off base in that, you do realize that this administration basically just said that they're going to welcome immigrants from South Africa. Yeah, they're going to welcome immigrants from South Africa. However, only the white ones. Because, of course, the white South Africans are being discriminated against because the land that they stole from the indigenous South Africans and made their home are now being taken back and being recollected and redistributed to the people from whom that land was stolen. But now the white South Africans are the victims because the land that they stole has now been taken back. Pardon me as I shed a tear. All right, tears over. Do you see the way the victimhood is played here? And we see it here in America. We see it all the time. You know, I don't like to admit it, but I was watching another Facebook or Instagram reel or something where apparently some unmelanated woman had spit in the face of a melanated woman. And the reel goes on to show the find out portion of that where, you know, the melanated woman dragged the other woman. And I mean, like, in the worst way. And of course, now the unmelanated woman is screaming as if they are the victim. You can't, you're right, you can't make this stuff up, brother. It's like we see these people who take action and then want to cry victimhood or be the victim. And we see it far too often. And that's what we're seeing now is that the white South Africans are being given an open carte blanche, welcome to America, because our president, the 47th president, is concerned that the white South Africans are being discriminated against because the land they stole is being taken back. I can't wait. I'd love to see when America has to kind of give the land back that they, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go there. You know where I was going, right? Okay. Anyway, look, lots of things going on, all types of things happening to Black Americans in Black America. Be vigilant. Keep your eyes open. Seeing the measles outbreak, things going on there on that front. We got tariffs going on. We got storms coming up, all types of places. You got people rallying here and there, all types of public protests because they are sick and tired of what's going on in this country. Let them lead that charge, Black America. We know we've been here before. This is new for the rest of America. Black Americans have been subjected to this for years. We've done without before. We've been in situations where we've had to make do without resources. And the fact of the matter is that we still continue to thrive. We've talked about those cities that we built over time in one of our Hello Black America conversations. So Black Americans continue to thrive despite all those things being set against us systematically, where systems are put in place to thwart us. We have individuals, of course, who are like our 47th president, who are fighting to bring us back to a time when we weren't protected by certain laws. We see the erosion of diversity, equity, inclusion type of things going on, which shows, if nothing else, shows that America truly doesn't want us here. If you didn't realize that before, the handwriting on the wall should be very obvious. And I had one of my mother's friends who watched the show and I guess was asking, are they really advocating for people to go back to Africa, to leave America? Now, yes, in some cases we are. Because we, first of all, realize we are here in a country that kidnapped us. And we still live in the land of those who kidnapped us. These are, I realize, you know, this is a kind of a heavy way to end this thing, but we were kidnapped and brought here. And we are feeling, and we still fight for our ability to stay here because we should, because We built this country. Our ancestors have made sacrifices to be here and make this country as great as, to whatever degree it's great. It is so because of the contributions of Black Americans. So I understand our desire to want to protect what we built here. But again, what we're seeing is that an overwhelming agreement that they don't want us. And I, for one, you see people in relationships talking about, I won't be nobody don't want me. Yet we are in a country where they have shown and proved to us they don't want us. We have shown and proved to ourselves that we can build. So why don't we go build where we're wanted? Why don't we go build where we feel a kinship, where our own people are there, our own descendants, people from our own bloodlines? Can't wait to get my DNA, my paternal DNA test back. Speaking of which, that makes me up something. I guess in the next few days, happy St. Patty's Day for those of us like myself. It's funny because a few years ago, I got my sister had our DNA done, and I realized that I was about 11% Irish, Scottish. And fortunately, that's actually the largest unmelanated part of my background. So I'm about 89% from the continent, but that 11% is like Scottish, Irish, some overseer along the way. Anyway, you know what the story is, right? But so I was going to start celebrating St. Patrick's Day once I got to the realization that I had some Irish blood in me. Of course, COVID came during that time, and I actually never did get to celebrate St. Patty's Day. But for those of us who have that sort of ancestral blood running through our veins, let's appropriate St. Patty's Day. Imagine making St. Patty's Day a black holiday on the par of like Juneteenth. We would really jazz up St. Patty's Day, I would think. But we'll save that for another time. Hey, we encourage you to definitely, if you haven't already done so, like our material, our content that you can find on YouTube, and the Hello Black America franchise that you can see on YouTube or wherever your podcasts you consume those. We don't call our show a podcast, but you can get it where you, Apple or any place where you consume shows, you can get the Hello Black America. Also, we encourage you to check out rep2025.org. Whether you believe what we're saying, and you'll have to go back to the Hello Black America content to kind of understand that. But whether you believe it or not, what you cannot say is that this team hasn't produced a plan, right? Whether you think the plan will work, whether you like the plan, whether you support the plan, all irrelevant in my mind. The fact of the matter is that we've done the work. We've set out these foundational shows that explain where it came from, the evolution of it, what the foundation is. We have put together a plan to present to the leadership of not just this country, but all the countries and entities that were participatory in the slave trade. And all of those things, we got it. You can just go check it out. Read it at your leisure. If you got questions, certainly reach out to our team. We're easy to find. Not only are we here every week on This Week in Black America, we've got a team that's available if you are interested in getting in touch with it. Oh, hold on a second. Is my brother joining in here? Is that what's going on? Brother, you there? All right. He's not saying anything, so maybe he just checking in here. But anyway, brother, no problem at all. Folks, I'm going to wind this down. I'm not as loquacious. Well, I can't be. But in this particular case, I'm not as loquacious as my brother, going off on tangents and things of that nature, which I love you, brother. I'm not. That's not a criticism. That's just a fact. Keep us in mind, folks. There's all types of still boycotts and things going on. In fact, this week I think was the end of the Amazon boycott. One thing I'm going to say about the various boycotts and boycotts and things like that, what I would encourage you to do is be intentional. Okay, support the people that support you. Right. We are in a time, fortunately now, where you can find a lot of the things that we consume. We can find them from Black creators. We can find them from Black entrepreneurs. Support those people, even if it costs us a little bit more. Even if it, we always talk about. I know I do a lot. Is we like to talk about our Black businesses sometimes when. You go to a restaurant and the wait is a little longer, or they don't have something on the menu that they say is on the menu. Let's show our folks some grace, right? And I know it can be frustrating. I've experienced that frustration on many a time myself. But the fact of the matter is how many times have you been frustrated by the other owners of businesses, and yet we show them more grace than we show our own people. So I'm encouraging us to just be intentional with our dollars. If you're not shopping at Target, that's great, but Target has traditionally put forth some Black brands that perhaps you can contact directly and order directly from the Black brands themselves. So let's find a way to support our own folks. Let's begin. Well, we've already begun. Let's continue to build the America, to build the land that we want to see, even if that land isn't here. Think about that one. That might catch you later. Hey, all types of things going on. Had a great time. Appreciate the brother for trusting me with the car today to drive around a little bit. I'll put some gas in it and and put it back safely, hopefully. Cyber Lady checks in here. Support is a valuable commodity in culture. Thank you for your agreement, Cyber Lady. I think we all need to get on that page. And I've been on that kick for a long time. My dad and I actually started an organization called the Organization for Black Economic Empowerment, OBE, back in the 90s. Unfortunately, that never went probably as far as it should have for a lot of reasons. But the concept of Black economic empowerment is important. It should be important in our community, and supporting each other is what we need to do and continue to do, so that we as a people can, a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that while we increase our boats, at the same time, America's boats as a whole are floating a little bit higher, a little bit better as well. So that's this week in Black America. Hope you were engaged. Hope said something that prompted you to be more intentional, to be more observant of what's going on around you, to be less fearful. I know this is a time where people are scared. They're not sure what's going to happen. Certainly, if you were a believer in Christ, understand and know that ultimately He reigns over all of this, right? So keep that in mind. If you're not a follower, I do feel for you, but as long as you're drawing breath, it's not too late to become one. So, we live by faith, not by sight. I love that, although it's not always easy to do. Not always easy to do. Again, want to thank you for joining This Week in Black America. Check out our content. If you haven't done so, like our content, subscribe, and set those little notifications. So anytime that the Hello Black America team is doing anything, you can be aware of that and join in. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy your weekends, whatever you're doing. Be safe out in them streets. Keep your head, your eyes peeled, because there's all types of things going on around us, and you just want to be aware. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time on This Week in Black America.